All right, my peeps, let's talk about what's the hardest thing in the world to do. The hardest thing in the world to do, and that is the ability to maintain the creative life force consciousness, God consciousness, Christ consciousness, to maintain your identity. That's the hardest thing in the world to do. The hardest thing in the world is to maintain an identity that is the version of yourself that already has the thing you desire and refuse to leave. In other words, when we talk about the fact that everybody has to understand that it is the internal world that is more real than the external world, that's crazy. So the invisible realm is more real than the physical realm. The dream world is more powerful than the real world. The internal world is more real than the external world. That is crazy. So once you understand that and you put your identity there, you must understand that your identity is more powerful than your environment. That's crazy. How you think, what you think is more powerful than what's real. That's crazy. So you must understand that your emotional frequency is the architect of your reality. So when you understand this, then you can stop negotiating with your circumstances. You can stop waiting for signs, stop seeking validation, stop needing evidence. You become the evidence. You become the sign. You become the validation. You become the source of your emotional state. Could you imagine if we all were able to understand that? If we could get into that mindset, whatever word you want to use, whether it's Christ consciousness, whether it's saved, whether it's enlightened, I like to use the term creative life force consciousness. But this is the moment when you step into your true sovereignty. This is the moment when you realize that nothing outside of you has authority over you. Nothing outside of you and no person outside of you has the power or authority to dictate your mental state. It's on you, boo-boo. So shiznits happen, but they should not be more powerful than you. But usually they are. So this is the moment when you realize that your emotional state is not a reaction, but a creation. This is the moment when you realize that you are not waiting for reality to change. Reality is waiting for you to stabilize your emotional state. My brothers and sisters, this is the most powerful overstanding, which is why I created an entire system. I have 1,000 systems that I've created over the last 60 plus years. Each system I put inside of what we call a book. 1,000 for 1,000. And the reason why I did that is to create and to leave a legacy for my children's children. So that way, all the mistakes that I made in life, they don't have to make. They can read about. So can you. So let's delve into a little bit deeper down the rabbit trail, shall we? So when we talk about emotional neutrality, we're talking about a space of mastery, because it is the ability to remain anchored in your chosen state, regardless of external stimulation. It is the ability to hold your frequency, even when the world tries to pull you into another frequency, or into another rhythm, into another algorithm, into a fight, into an argument. It is this ability to remain in the end, even when the beginning tries to reassert itself. It is this ability to maintain your identity, even when your circumstances redirect you or reflect your past instead of your future. You see, brothers and sisters, this is really the ability, and this is when you really start living in a high vibrational state. So to maintain the creative life force consciousness, you must understand that the emotional state you choose is more important than the circumstances that you face. Man, that is deep. The emotional state that you choose. So what if someone is able to get you in an emotional state that you didn't choose? What if I'm able to get into your head? What if I'm able to say something to make you angry? Then you are my bitch. Why? Because I have power over you. You my boy. You my boop. Because whoever can get you into an emotional state that is not of your choosing, that is your master. That is your God. Whether it is a reverend, a doctor, bishop, your mama, your daddy, your monkey, your squirrel, your boo-boo. No one should be able to manipulate you but you. So the goal is to get to a space of over, and understanding. That's the purpose of all of these books, is to get you to understand what I call the identity gap. The identity gap. The identity gap is when your identity and your reality, they don't match. There's a gap. The identity gap is when you can't keep what you got. Because the change must happen biologically or chemically. See, you are chemically dependent upon your identity, your negative habit pattern, because it's familiar. Every cell in your body recognizes and is familiar with scarcity. Every cell in your body recognizes. Every cell in your body is familiar with scarcity. It is familiar with that negative habit pattern, not because it's true, because it's familiar. It's because you have been in that negative habit pattern state for so long that now your body, due to repetition, is familiar. So the point of all of the 1,000 is to take you step by step through all of the processes, not only the identity gap, but every other process, every other thought pattern, any person, place, or thing that can hurt, harm, or defraud and or manipulate you. The goal is to get you to a place where you control your own behavior. You're not under the control of the cosmic Rator. You're not under the spell of some other person, some other place, or some other thing. That simply means that nobody can con you, nobody can manipulate you unless you want them to. This is the purpose of the 1,000 for 1,000. Because we want to assist you with bridging the identity gap as well as the knowledge gap. So we got two issues. We got the identity gap. That's just the identity. You say and you identify as being wealthy, but in reality, you are not. So we have to close the gap between how you identify in the spirit realm and how you're living in the physical realm. The spirit realm and the physical realm should be the same. So we have to go through the step-by-step process to close the gap. That's what I'm doing, and that's what I'm teaching everybody else to do. And then we have to, and we're able to do that by establishing what I call the knowledge gap. So the Bible talks about this. It says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. No reverend, no doctor, no bishop, no demons, knowledge, Negro, knowledge. So if there's an issue going on, there's a lack of knowledge. My people perish for lack of knowledge. So the knowledge gap, that's the whole purpose of the 1,000 for 1,000, is to go through all of the different processes. Now, so that you understand, each one of these are books that I've written based upon my own personal lived. It's not something I read in the book. This is my own personal real life experience. And so I'm sharing my real life experience with you. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. That's how everything happens. Everything happens when you choose to renew your mind. But nobody can do it for you. You got to do it for yourself. And this is extremely important because each and every one of us, we're going through something. Each and every one of us, we're experiencing something. Your life experiences is totally different from my life experiences. And they should be. So what works for me may not work for you. So your job is to take the pieces of information that are similar and to use it. All of the 1,000 may not apply to you, but most Most of them will. Because the one thing that we all have in common is that we are all what we call human. Even though we're spiritual. But they say we are human. So we are all spiritual beings having a human experience. So there are some core, let's use the word personalities, core dispositions that apply to all humans, all people. This is called human behavior. So we all have patterns and patterns of power. Most people suffer or don't have the ability to identify patterns. What I do for a living is I'm able to identify patterns. I can look at what is called deviant behavior. Now, I learned this working inside of the prison system. One of the beautiful things about working inside of the prison system, one of the beautiful things about taking classes and studying psychology is you learn to identify human psychology. What's up, brother Nail? What's going on, my brother? Appreciate you tuning in, my brother. And so once you understand that all psychology, all human beings, we are all spiritual beings, but we're having a human experience. So once you understand that your internal world is more real than your external world, you must understand that your identity is more powerful than your environment. You must understand that your emotional frequency is the architect of your reality. And once you understand this, you stop negotiating with your circumstances. You stop waiting for signs. You stop seeking validation. You stop needing external evidence. You become the evidence. Stop looking for evidence. Stop looking for proof. The ego loves proof. You are the proof. Your mindset is the proof. Your identity is the proof. That's why you must identify with the Most High. You cannot identify as a black man. You cannot identify as an African. You cannot identify as a Haitian. You cannot identify as a Jamaican. Those are all part of your identity, but that's not the overwhelming identity. In order for you to manifest the life of your dreams, you have to identify with the most powerful identity. Otherwise, you will suffer from the identity gap. You will not be able to get what you want. And then if you get it, you can't keep it. Because your identity and the thing that you want doesn't match. You have to identify with all things. And the only way to do that is to identify as the Most High. So once you establish, like the Bible says, let this mind be in you that was also in Christ Jesus. You see, human behavior is all the same. Success lives where comfort dies. People do what benefits them until it doesn't benefit them anymore, and then they move on. It's not personal. You just got to understand human behavior. So once you get to a level of human behavior, then you get to the place where you're living what I call the creative life force consciousness. So I created the Creative Life Force Consciousness Institute. It's a certification program to help people establish and go through the 3-step identity recalibration process. That just simply means you're just going to elevate your consciousness. That's all it means. Now, these 3 steps are, as we talked about yesterday and the day before, the first step, you got to realize that you're not the vibration equivalent of God. Let this mind be in you that was also in Christ Jesus, who been in the form of God and not considered robbery to be equal with God. So you need to be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Number 1, recognize you're identifying as blank. That's cool, but that's lack. I don't want to identify with lack. I don't want to identify with poverty or sickness. I don't want to identify, so I'm not going to give my attention. I'm not going to give my awareness to the circumstances. Number 1, stop giving your attention and your time, your conversation to whatever's going on if it's not God. God is all-knowing, all-power, all-present, all-loving. Love, joy, peace, gentleness, meekness, self-control. That's number 1. Number 2 are the 3 steps to recalibrate. Establish the creative life force consciousness. Be in, not out. We have this treasure in. The kingdom of God is within. So you got to go internal. So we got to stop looking outside of ourselves for a solution. We already got the solution. The solution is inside of ourselves. Which takes us to number 3. Once you establish it, then you got to figure out how to maintain it. So I've been able to get a lot of stuff, but I've not been able to keep a lot of stuff. And the reason is that my identity doesn't match the stuff. It's like putting gasoline in your car, filling up the gas tank, and you're taking a trip, and all you do is watch the gas tank. Why? You're afraid you're going to run out of gas. Now, you have a meter in your car that tells you how much gas is in the car. But what if it's broke? So if you fill your gas tank up, but the needle says E, and you have no way of knowing how much gas you have in the car, you will always be cautious, aware of the gas and the mileage, and you will not be able to enjoy the scenery and the trip because you have no meter, you have no gauge, you have no way of knowing how much gasoline is in the car because the gauge is broken. If your ability to marry and to monitor and to maintain your consciousness is broken, so in this creative Life Force Consciousness Institute, I help people establish their identity gauge, which destroys the identity gap, so that way your knowledge and your identity gives you a feeling of security and safety. See, when you don't feel secure and you don't feel safe, you cannot prosper, because that feeling is going to create a reality that is vibrationally equivalent to not feeling safe, not feeling secure. So your feelings create your reality. You can have a lot of money, but if you don't feel like you have money, you broke. You can have perfect health, but if you don't feel like you're in perfect health, you're sick. You can have whatever, but if you don't feel like you have it, then you're going to destroy it. I would always get a good job. I would get move into a nice home. Then I would self-destruct. And I did this over and over and over again. And I couldn't figure out why I was always self-destructing. The reason I was self-destructing and self-sabotaging my life, quitting jobs, moving for no reason, getting cars repoed, is because I wasn't the vibrational equivalent of a high-paying job. I came from struggle. So I did not know how to relax and enjoy success. If you do not learn how to enjoy your life and bloom where you plant it and focus on what you have instead of always worrying about trying to get something or trying to keep something, you are not the vibrational equivalent. You have a identity gap. You have a knowledge gap. Your job, my job, is to assist you with not making the same mistakes that I made. Because when you do not feel, then you cannot be real. It's all about feeling. You got to create that for yourself before you can create that for anyone else. So when we get married, we're supposed to be the providers and the protectors of our home. But what if you cannot provide and protect yourself? What if you was raised in an environment where you was not given protection, nor were you given provisions? You grow up feeling unsure. You don't know where your next meal is coming from. You don't know how you're going to eat, where you're going to sleep. So you grow up and that feeling becomes your baseline. That becomes your emotional state. Your reticular activation system says from the rest of your life, that feeling is normal. So we will always draw things that validate. I'm going to send you people. I'm going to send you to places. I'm going to send you books. I'm going to send you movies. I'm going to send you a relationship partner that is going to validate you're not safe. So everything in your life has to validate the reticular activating system belief system. So whatever your belief system is, it is being validated right now by your external environment. So until you change the internal belief system, you cannot change the external environment. Most of us, we focus on trying to change the external environment. That's what I did, because nobody taught me or told me what I'm telling you. And that is, everything in life is all about your identity. There is a gap in your identity. That's why you keep losing it after you get it. It's easy to get stuff, but it is difficult to maintain and hold on to stuff. Why? As I break down inside of the book and in the class and in the course, when your external reality changes, but your identity doesn't change with it, if it doesn't catch up, nothing will ever continue, and nothing will ever convince you that you actually made it. That's because your internal framework isn't in the place of success. As I said earlier, if you filled the tank up with gas for a long drive, yet you keep thinking about the gas running out, your focus is on the gas. The focus is not on the trip. It's not on the scenery. It's not on the route. Because your mind is consumed. What's up, Brother Mwanga? How you doing, my brother? Appreciate you tuning in, Brother Mwanga. So if your focus is on the gas, you're going to miss the trip. So you can have major achievements in any area of your life. But guess what? If you don't savor, if you don't live in it, you can't maintain it. That's the mistake that I have been making all my life. Nobody told me the importance that my identity must match my reality. If you're living in a wealthy environment, regardless of how you got there, you can't stay there unless you are the vibrational equivalent of there, unless you can match there. So now the question is, how do we change that? How do we change our mentality to match our reality? Because right now, our reality is controlling our mentality. We got to reverse engineer that. We have to learn how to live in our desire fulfilled state. That's the whole point of the class and the course, because as I've been sharing, and I've been doing this for 60 plus years, because I have to do this for my own self, because at each level requires a new identity. Nobody told me that. When you're making $50,000 a year, that's a totally different identity than making $100,000 a year. When you're making $100,000 a year, it's a totally different identity than making $200,000 a year. People who make $200,000 a year, they don't do the things that people that make $100,000 a year do. People that make $500,000 a year, they don't do, they don't think, they don't eat, they don't go, they don't do none of the stuff that people that make $200K a year. So your environment and your mentality have to match. If they don't match, what happens is you're going to suffer from the identity gap, just like I did. And the point of the book, the class, the show, the Creative Life Force Consciousness Academy or Institute is to help you and me over and understand that the highest identity in the world is that of God. That way you don't have to change. The creative, because God is a creator. Because in the beginning, what did he do? Go to Genesis 1:1. First thing he started doing, he noticed the earth was without form and without void. Darkness was upon the face of the deep. So what did he start doing? He started creating stuff. We're creators. We're made in the image and likeness of our creator. Your job is to create. So if you do not have a creative life force consciousness state, boo-boo, you in trouble. Notice how you're broadcasting like by thinking. Thinking is broadcasting. If you're thinking, I need money or I want money, then I want money is being broadcasted out into the universe. And so what you are saying unconsciously is create conditions and circumstances so that I will always feel want and never have. Well, you don't want to always be wanting money. You want to have money. So you will never have any money as long as you are having the feeling that you don't have money. Wanting is the price of admission for poverty. So wanting a relationship is the price of admission to be single. Wanting to be healthy is the price of admission to be sick. Wanting to be wise is the price of admission to be ignorant. Wanting to be wealthy is the price of admission to be poor. Wanting is how you stay broke. Your job is to get out of wanting and get into having. And the way by which we do that is to establish this creative life force consciousness. Because once you get to this level of awareness, then you realize that, hold up, wait a minute. It is the emotional state that I choose that is more important than the circumstances that I face. It is the emotional state that I choose that's more important than the circumstances that I face. The emotional state that I choose is more important than the circumstances that I face. Choose an emotional state. Stay and maintain that emotional state. Your job, and the only job that you got, is to really get to this place of awareness. Because when you understand this, what is this? To maintain your life, your creative life force consciousness state, you must become the version of yourself who already has the thing that you desire. And you got to refuse to establish any other state. Once you do that, bam, then that's the moment when you step into true sovereignty. That is the moment when you realize that nothing outside of you has authority over you. That is the moment when you realize that your emotional state is not reaction, but creation. That is the moment, brothers and sisters, when you step into this creative life force consciousness state. That's when you realize if it is to be, it is up to me. That's the moment when you realize that you're not waiting for reality to change. Reality is waiting for you to stabilize your state and maintain the creative life force state. That is your job. You have to understand that, brothers and sisters. Nothing matters. Nothing is more important. Stop negotiating with your circumstances. Stop waiting for signs. Stop seeking external validation. Stop looking for evidence. The ego requires evidence. The spirit does not. You become the evidence. You are the evidence that you need. You must understand that your identity is more powerful than your environment. Your identity is more powerful than your environment. The inability to establish and maintain your identity in Christ, in Yahushua the HaMashiach, in Source, in the Paroma, in the Peru, in the creative life force consciousness. If you have any other identity, boo-boo, you're in trouble. So pick up the 1000 for 1000. Join the Creative Life Force Consciousness Institute today. Transform your entire life by learning to not only identify the current broadcasting of lack, establish and then maintain the creative life force consciousness state. Watch your life change. This your boy, Dr. Will Rogers, a.k.a. Master Teacher 33. I'm at the top grinding and shining. Y'all come join me. Pick up the 1000 for 1000 today. Payment plans are available. 4 monthly payments of $250 gets you all 1000 and gives you a 50% discount off of the Creative Life Force Consciousness Institute. Let's go.